Okay, good evening. It's East Lyme Board of Selectmen, and it's March 4th, and we're in the regular meeting room. It's a special meeting for the purpose of deliberating on the budget. So, we can rise and say pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, I think we're gonna Zoom Kevin Trevelyan, I believe. He's online?
Yep. There he is.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, yeah, I see him. Okay, great.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Kevin. All right, so okay, beautiful. All right, so we're going to start this evening with the police budget, public safety, police department. So we can go to the top. The bottom line at the top is personal services is 4.04%.
It's
Yeah, and then the public safety police department total is 4.4 at the bottom.
okay.
Are there any comments or discussions, or we just want to go line by line?
I have marked on here something about the telephones, but do you want me to wait on that until we get down there?
Well, we can start at the top and work our way down. We have the police chief, that's 2.75. Administrative assistant, 17.79. We're reducing the overtime, so it went from 2,000 to zero. Part-time clerical, 37,000, went up a little bit. Police officers, so that's 2,610,618. Part-time officers, 14,000.
So,
And then overtime is collapsed. If you look at the 2026 budget, there was the 35,000, the 316, the 16.
And the 7.
Can I just go back to the police officers,
yeah, that's
please?
what I wanted to go back to too.
Yeah.
Just for
We need
clarification.
discussion.
So that's how many police officers? Was that after your reduction?
That is, Kev, are you there?
I am here.
Yeah, so on the police officers, is that the 1.5? Or is that,
So the budget presented by the first selectman,
Yeah.
the $2.6 million budget
Yes.
was reduced. So the chief asked for originally 4, 2 in January, 2 in July.
Right.
Dan cut 1 from each. So this budget is inclusive of 2 new positions,
That's the-
only a 1.5 full-time equivalent, 1 in January, 1 in July. So 2 new cops.
so it's two,
So one
one's,
starts at so you're starting one at a certain point and then you're starting another one at the end?
one in July and one in January.
Mid-year.
So,
Yep, mid-year.
I guess I would propose that we start the policeman in July and cut out the January policeman.
So delay the new hire.
So there'd be one new hire, but it would start in July, so it's really a 0.5? Is that's what you're
Yeah,
proposing?
that would save $33,769 if you eliminated the January 1 start date police officer.
So what would that reduce it to?
It would reduce it to $2,576,850.
So just for clarity,
850 or 849?
$50.
850. Okay. I had the wrong.
so for clarity, he requested 4, it was reduced to 2,
Yep.
and now you're making another reduction to 1.
0.5 really, because one that starts in July.
Sorry about that. But 1.
How is this going to affect the fact that we have eliminated overtime? now we're going to reduce further the number of regular officers, and we have potentially eliminated part-time.
We haven't eliminated overtime. There was overtime boat duty, and then there was foot patrol parade duty, and I think it was holiday pay. Was that training?
There was 481,000 of total overtime in the current budget. The proposed budget is 505.
So there were 4 lines that are now
In one line.
in one line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dan, really quickly, can we have the chief come up?
Yeah,
Is that
sure.
acceptable for
Yeah.
everybody? It's acceptable
Yeah.
for me.
Here we go. Thank you. Good evening, Chief Glenn.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So just a few points. With the reduction of the 1.5 funded positions
Yes.
that's currently in the budget, down to just the one position, that would affect a few things operationally. One, we will not be able to put a school resource officer into the schools in September. And second, the overtime line that is included, as you see today, will be exceeded next year.
Say
Thank you for that.
Could you say that again?
Sure. So the current funding in the overtime line would not be realistic. We will spend more than what's there. So that would either need to be adjusted prior to the referendum, or it would just be accepted that we're going to spend more money than what we have budgeted.
And Chief, that is the 505, I'm sorry,
Oh, no, go ahead.
that is the 516,645, $505,050.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. That is the value that will be exceeded.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so just for clarity, I'm not in favor of taking that one out. I am in favor of moving forward with the 2. I wasn't in favor of taking the flock cameras out either last night. So,
So can I ask,
Since you brought that up, I'd like to touch on that.
can I ask a question first?
Sure.
Thank you. On overtime, you said overtime would be exceeded. Why is that? Can you explain that?
Sure. So we currently don't have enough staffing to fill all the shifts that we need for just the minimum staffing for public safety. With the requested 4 additional positions, which is really just 3 positions funded, we would have the adequate number of personnel to be able to staff our shifts. So without the officers going out there, we're going to have to pay overtime to have officers on their days off fill those shifts.
Is this because people are out on like sick leave or comp or something?
Not completely. I mean, that contributes to it. We have 2 officers who are deployed right now who are away. However, even if they were back, prior to the most recent deployment, we were authorizing 3 8-hour shifts every single day on overtime. So as you can imagine, that adds up pretty quickly. And without any additional staffing, we'll have to continue that model into next fiscal year.
Okay,
So
understood.
if we did a deal like this, it would be saving, $34,000 right now. However, the overtime would exceed that. Do you think, maybe Kevin, this is a question for you, is that any sort of cost savings at all, or is the cost of overtime going to outstrip the $33,000 for a new hire?
Chief, can I ask a question to you? If we delayed the hiring of the July 1 and hired 2 January 1, that still gives you 2 officers, and the budget impact is still the same as hiring July 1. Would that be amenable? Could that be a compromise?
So it's
Would-
just, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all I had.
It's really just shuffling money around. It's kicking the can down the road a little bit. By the time, if we start 2 funded positions in January and no funded positions prior to that, it's just that much longer that we'll have the proper staffing on the roads to then reduce the overtime that we're spending currently. It takes about a year to hire an officer and then get them on the road by themselves. So if the funded positions, even if there's 2 of them that start in January of '27, we won't see them on the road with a reduction in overtime until January 2028.
So it's a false economy in that sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shell game.
Yeah.
yeah.
But with that additional, that second funded position, whether both start in July, one starts in July, one starts in January, that will reduce the overtime that we spend next fiscal year. and it will reduce it even further in the following fiscal year.
So maybe we start one in January and one in July then. I mean, it
So-
sounds like,
We do the one.
yeah, I didn't realize they actually didn't have enough people,
And just to
enough staffing.
speak on that further, the anticipation of 2 starting in July and then 2 starting in January, which was the proposed request initially, would allow us to guarantee the school system a school resource officer in September of this year.
Mhm.
So with that reduction, we can't guarantee that.
Yeah, understood.
Thank you.
Now, what happens when our 2 officers who are now with military, they are going to return, will they both return at the same time?
No, we anticipate one will return right at the end of this fiscal year, in June, and the other to return in September or October. However, with the recent events over the last week, that could be extended.
Yeah, so,
But even when they return, we'll
Then
still
you get up to
exceed
the
the
4.
current overtime line right now, until we have more police hired, additions to the funded positions, and those officers hired and on the road, that overtime line is going to be exceeded.
I ask because I just happened to hear on TV today an update on what's happening nationwide with the military, and there is talk that people whose terms should end or would be eligible to retire, they are going to be recruited to not do so.
Sure.
So I think that delaying the and not doing something to make up for those possibility or probability of those 2 officers not returning to our force, I think that's something that we should take into consideration.
Well, if that were to happen, you could come back. And we could have discussions if they weren't coming back.
I mean, after the budget's approved?
Yeah. She's talking about people that are on military leave.
Right, no, I
And
understand.
we
Yeah.
can't foresee, so
you
I'm
you
just,
have no idea.
yeah, so
that,
I
you
mean,
know,
it's open and you would be able to come back and then we would just have more discussion,
Yeah, that's true.
okay? Do you want to talk about the flock cameras?
Well, are we, well,
when
are
we
we done
finish
with?
this
Yeah,
first.
are we done with?
Are we actually voting on it?
No, but we're discussing it so we can figure it out,
So
so
any-
what we want to
Yeah,
do.
so, well, we
So
just-
I guess I would agree to do one in January and one in July.
And that's what's reflected in the current, my
first-
proposal,
yeah.
correct,
That's
Kevin?
correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So it'd be.
Correct.
Yep, so just leave it.
So that's leaving it then. Okay, I thought that was with your, whatever the original was. Okay,
No, that's what.
Got it.
what I caught.
okay.
Any, Candace, any further discussion on this line?
No, I'm in full favor of what we were going to move forward with, even though it is not the 4, but I think that it is at least going towards what you're looking for. Okay.
All right, and Jason, any comments?
I just had a question about operating expenses. It's just a technical one, so I can wait on that if you want.
Okay, well, we'll just finish this line.
Okay.
Roseanne, and I sense you're in
I'm
favor of it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we'll just leave that one alone.
Leave it.
Okay. All right, so, now you, Jason, you had a question about operating?
Yeah, just a lot of departments had their phones folded into IT, but I see that this is not the case with the public safety. There's 8,700. I was just curious, is that for a specific reason?
Where are you?
Oh, I'm
He's
sorry.
on,
533. No,
So-
sorry, 55300.
Right. Operating expenses?
Yeah,
Yeah.
under operating telephone and equipment.
It's just to satisfy my curiosity. A lot of other places zeroed out their telephone budget, but it remains in police.
Sure, so, for example, the animal control officer's telephone line was zeroed out. IT absorbed that. The $8,700 in the police department's line is more than just the actual physical phones in the police department, the bill for that. We have wireless
Special phones.
pieces of equipment in our vehicles and so on, so we have to keep that in the police
So
department.
that can't go over to IT.
Correct.
That was my only question.
Okay, good question.
Can you address the flock cameras?
I would love to.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is, I understand that it was reduced from the 18,000 to 9,000, just for some clarity. I didn't have an opportunity to be here the other night. I wasn't aware that any of the police budget would be discussed or deliberated on. And just for transparency purposes, not only for the people in the room Monday night tonight, but also the people who view the minutes after the fact and watch the videos on YouTube or on TV. The flock line exists in the IT budget, but affects the police department. We currently have, we had the last few years, 3 cameras in town, and that's a cost of $9,000. It's a flat fee of $3,000 per camera per year. My initial request was for $30,000, so we got 10 cameras in town. After speaking with the first selectman and the finance director, we made that adjustment down to $18,000. And I understand on Monday night it was reduced again to $9,000. So a few things were discussed that I just want either clarified or just an opportunity to put some facts out there. One member of the Board of Selectmen made a comment that we have enough cameras, so let's make the reduction. Another member of the Board of Selectmen said that we have 3 cameras on main roads, so we're well covered, so let's make the reduction. And this is, of course, with all due respect, but I was hired by the town of East Lyme as the chief of police. I should be the person that gives the information about what is appropriate, what's not, and it's my understanding the proper workflow would be that that information goes to the Board of Police Commissioners, and they are the civilian oversight of the police department. When we come to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, we're asking for the funding for our operational goals and strategies. So I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody. And lastly, another member of the Board of Selectmen talked about potential legislation, which is always very dangerous to do. And this blurs the lines between individuals' biases and opinions and facts. Potential legislation doesn't exist. I mean, unless a bill is proposed, nobody should really opine on what it's going to say, what they heard it's going to say, or what they saw on social media. The bill that was proposed came out today. I reviewed a copy of it. And just like I said during my presentation, everything that was discussed for the potential bill that was raised today is in line with what we do currently with our flock cameras. There was never any talk about limiting or not allowing municipalities to use flock cameras or any license plate readers at all. That's not in the proposed bill. Things will be removed from that proposed bill. Things will not be added to it. So we won't be in a position where we have the funding to move forward, but we're not allowed to use it. So I just wanted to put that out there to the Board of Selectmen, ideally to reconsider that reduction, but I understand that was voted on and probably won't be reconsidered.
Thank you for that clarity, and I appreciate you. I was outnumbered, just so you know. I would have preferred to keep them in. I made that very clear last night for a reason. So I also look at things like, if I could give everybody everything, I totally would, right? I would love a money tree. I would love everybody to be happy. I would love all those things, but I cannot. So when somebody makes a request, I try to think of where I can meet you halfway. What can we do to get a little bit more ahead? What can we do so that we're always providing the best services? We want to be the best East Lyme that we can be, all right? And that is just coming very authentically. So you had requested 4. I pretty much knew that, 2 is where I definitely was comfortable with 2. But with the flock cameras, I think that you get a tremendous amount from those and helpful with investigations. I'm not a police officer. I don't know everything about it, but that was the impression that I got. And I even made that comment last night that, if your kid is missing, you're going to be very thankful for a flock camera to try to help in getting, your kid back or anything of that nature. So yes, we did vote on it. It is unfortunate. I would like to see it put back in if we could possibly do that. I even offered, if you are uncomfortable with 3, then 1 or 2. And if that's in consideration, if people can take that into consideration and possibly put 1 or 2 back in, I think that that would be great. But I do appreciate the clarity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So is there any interest in adding a camera back in or not? We voted on it last night as was.
I would like to make a motion to put 1 flock camera back in.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a second, so now we can discuss it. What are our thoughts? Putting one back in, what's your feeling, Jason?
Well, I've expressed my thoughts kind of ad infinitum on this issue,
Yeah, so-
and I don't want to rehash too much of
Okay.
it. I will say, however, that I guess because of what I've said, I've become kind of the go-to guy for the opposition for this sort of surveillance technology. Not surveillance. What's the word?
Great technology.
Okay. I have become kind of the clearinghouse for folks who are opposed to this great technology, and I can tell you that a lot of people have spoken to me, and it cuts across party. You know, there's a real hesitancy to implement this technology in towns, and I think a lot of it has to do with what we're seeing on the national news and gets people spooked. But for me, it's all about control of data and where the data goes, and I don't see a lot of clarity of who has access to the data, how long that data exists for, and most importantly, there's, at least in the previous conversation, and I guess in this conversation, there's no real talk of audits. Like, how do we know these systems are not causing issues? How do we look back at what mechanism can be baked in for us to be able to make sure the system is working? And I think, someone said, I think it was you, Dan, who said like the horse is out of the barn with this issue, or maybe it was Mr. Steele. I'm not a horse guy, but I'm pretty sure if your horse gets out of the barn, you go get it and put it back in the barn. I feel like we have this really new, powerful technology, and it's everywhere. It's rampant. However, as it starts to penetrate deeper and deeper into law enforcement, we find ourselves in kind of a new landscape of thoughts and discussions. And I mean, clearly I've not been persuaded. I'm not unpersuadable. However, I guess I want to know. I'll go back to what happens with the data, who gets to see it, what can they do with it, how long is it around for? And I think a lot of those questions should be answered by this legislation. As far as I know, I have not read the bill, but preliminary reports I've seen on it suggest that might answer some questions. So, I mean, I'm opposed. I know many of the people in town are opposed, and I expect to hear from them after this meeting on Facebook and and on email and text messages. Yeah, people say, keep this issue alive. Keep talking about this. It's an important issue. So I look forward to hearing your comments, and I'll end here.
Thanks, Jason.
Could I just add to that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
So in terms of audits, we have a policy at the police department that outlines license plate readers and the administration of it, the use of it, and everything from data retention to appropriate uses. A statewide model policy was just released this week, and that's coincides with the discussions up in Hartford. We're in line with that statewide model policy, and one of the aspects is audits. So we do audits. We've released audits. People FOI them frequently. So we can give you a copy of our audits, but we do those to make sure they're used appropriately, make sure we're not sharing it with any information with anybody that's it's not appropriate to do, so on. And just one more final point. This technology is so important to all municipal law enforcement in the state, but it's so much more important to the agencies like East Lyme that are understaffed, to really lean into the technology that allows us to have better coverage throughout town because we don't have enough officers who are throughout town. These flock cameras become that much more important.
I was curious about that, actually. I don't mind. Hope you guys don't
No,
mind.
Go ahead, yeah.
You
This
sir-
is interesting.
You had brought forward the thing from 1972 about you needed 40 officers, or no, a lot of officers to fill out that timesheet. And is that a nationwide thing? Has like the technology allowed for fewer and fewer officers to maintain a larger and larger presence?
No, it helps with that, but all the guidelines, the model policies, the legislation, the accreditation standards have removed officers from the road, and there's much more administrative and reporting tasks that need to take place. So that has hurt us in the sense that we can't use all of the police officers to be on the road to fill those shifts. The technology helps us to creep that back a little bit.
Okay.
So your feeling is that the presence of the flock cameras helps to offset somewhat the deficiencies in the size of the force?
It does.
Any-
Okay, so I guess I just want to make a general statement first. Everybody who comes before us, you know, you're in charge of the police, you report to the police commission. You know, the fire department comes, they have everybody has their special interests. I have to respond to 18,000 people, the taxpayers. So I guess I want to say that, you know, when we're looking for cuts, it's you know, we would love to give you everything. I would love to give you 4 police officers. I believe in that. But we have a budget, and we have to make sure it's sustainable for the 18,000 taxpayers. So having said that, and listening to what Candace said, I would, you know, I'll agree to, you know, another flock camera. Because I think what he said is right. If it impacts the technology, I think, you know, it's reasonable. So I would be in favor of it. Yeah.
Okay. Roseanne, did you want to comment again, or we're all set? All right, well, everybody has thought this through, and let's vote on it. All in favor?
What is the motion?
Oh,
I motion to put one
One
more
more.
block
Block camera in.
in.
Okay.
to add one back in.
If
Yeah.
you need a number, what is it, 3,000?
3,000, yeah.
3,000.
So,
It'll be
yeah.
3,000, add 3,000 back into that. All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? All right, so the motion carries. So we will add 3,000 back into.
It's an IT.
Where is it?
It's an
It
IT,
was an
it's in the IT
Oh, it's an
budget.
IT?
And I believe it's line 53,525.
Is Kevin with us?
105-4143-53525, Sandy.
So we're gonna add 3,000 back in on that line. Yeah, I think,
Which one was it? Sorry.
so it's
Still
the IT budget.
Is it the police EMD
It's good.
FMO?
Yeah, it's
IT's
53525. This
Got
one.
it.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll add 3,000 back in there. All right. Okay,
Okay. Got it.
so back on the police budget and with telephones. I don't see any other areas where we really should make any significant cuts. Tell me about, Chief, the training supplies? Yeah,
Can I just do one housekeeping item for everybody?
yeah.
Sure.
So it sounds like the Board of Ed adopted a budget of $67,224,660. And that is, you know, $300,000 lower than what we have in the budget. So with, you know, the board's blessing, I'd like to change this number in here
To change.
to reflect what the actual is. I don't think you have to make a cut because you guys can't really, you know, touch the Board of Ed, but I think it's just nice to put the right amount in here now.
And what page is that gonna be on? That's gonna be on the front?
So it's just on that summary sheet in the very front of the book. It's nothing more than just cleaning up the amount to the actual Board of Ed.
Okay.
So just so we have an updated amount here, Board of Ed's coming in at 6.3%. When we look at the front work paper now, and your mill rate increase currently stands 8.57% increase, 2.4 mills. Can everyone see my screen, by the way? Is my screen pulling up in front of you guys?
I have to.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe that's the best way.
Okay. So I can zoom in a little. So this is the updated front screen. So right now we're at $104 million budget. We're up $7.7 million. We're up about just shy of 8%. On the town side, we're up 14.3%. So just so the Board of Selectmen knows, the Board of Finance tasked us with bringing this back to under, 3 mils, 3 million, closer to a 1 mil increase, which is right around $2.9 million. So if that's kind of our target, I don't know if you have a target, if the board has a target, but that's kind of what the target that we've been told by the Board of Finance.
Yeah, that's what we've discussed.
Cut 3 mil.
Thank you.
Trying.
So through the night, this is the number that we're really focused on changing, right? Because some of these don't change really. You can't change debt service, you can't change Board of Ed. So it's really this number, we're looking to change the town operations line.
So I have a question. It specifically affects the flock cameras, but also the CIP. Chief, when you presented your CIP requests, the flock cameras, the $30,000 was there. And as far as I know, it was put forward by the CIP committee. Is this ringing a bell for anyone?
No, it's not.
That's not true?
I did not see it, and I did ask that we could go through the CIP line by line, and I was told that we were not going to be doing that.
Okay, well, I guess my question would be, well, no, I'll save my question then, never mind.
Well,
If
was
I'm
it
not
taken
making
out or
sense.
not? We'll just ask Dan or Kevin. Was it
Kevin,
taken out?
Is the flock
Yeah,
cameras, was that in the CIP?
No.
I didn't think so, yeah.
There were two camera projects in CIP.
Yeah.
But not
But
flock
those
I was
are
gonna say, I
for,
don't remember flock cameras in the CIP.
There were two
Yeah.
projects, one for the town hall, the security cameras.
Oh,
and then one for the community
center,
Yeah.
that's right.
So we decided to, this year, try to deal with the town hall.
First,
And then, and then later on,
Community center.
hopefully next year.
So do we have any more questions or anything for the chief since he's standing?
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask. Is anyone else, I don't think there's any other line items here that we need to discuss.
I
Is
do
anyone
not.
else? Right. I think we're all set. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
so
being here
much,
tonight.
Chief. I just want to thank everybody for that dialogue and the reconsiderations and all of those things. It's really, this isn't very easy at all, right? And I think that
No.
it's authentic, for sure, from everyone, looking to try to find savings, not looking to go forward with such a high mill increase rate. I said that straight out of the gate, that we would be, or I would be in support of bringing this budget down as far as I possibly could before sending it to the Board of Finance. That type of mill rate is alarming to me as a community member, but then also trying to think about how other people are going to be able to absorb that in the times that we're living with. So trying to find a good balance. And the other thing that I'm thinking on is ahead. Not just what's in front of me, but what's coming down the line, okay? And that is weighing on me because I don't want to, we did a huge, I believe, in larger increase than we ever had last budget. I don't want to set that precedence of every year coming forward with that type of increase. I think it's unsustainable for everyone. So I know that that was hard for you, to put out, to decrease another police officer, and then to kind of have the dialogue to kind of find where we could find a good fit for East Lyme. And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I've said it a million times already, but I feel like I have to keep reiterating it because, when you live here, you care about your town, you love your town, you want it to shine, you want your departments to be the very best that we can be, and you care about it, and you care about our people. So, thank you for that whole entire situation, and we'll just keep going.
Yeah, we try to do what we can, and
Yeah,
try to be careful where we cut, and try to get the budget down the best way we can, and not get rid of something that's really essential. All right,
We have a lot of work to do if we're gonna cut 3 million though.
Yeah?
more like 800,000.
What was it?
Now, from the town sides, 3 million would be cutting us back to zero.
Oh.
It's about 800, the goal's between 6 and 800,000 tonight.
okay, so let's go to dispatch. That's our next section. And there's only a 0.59% increase. Really just we got the overtime.
so, hold on, this is under fire service.
Yeah, it's the next one, it's the next one behind police service. It's right before fire service.
Dispatch.
So Kevin, I see that, you know, the dispatchers, it's flat.
Yeah, there's only one increase, and that's the overtime line.
Yeah.
And that's really to better reflect, with the slight increase, but, I mean, last year we spent 203,000 on that line, so the 174 is still, conservative.
Yep. All right,
Not much to the dispatch
not
one.
much to it. Any comments? Can we move on, or we need
Yeah,
more?
they're getting new chairs for, CIP.
They're
is
getting
not-
some new
not
chairs,
reflected
yeah,
here.
that isn't, yeah. Offered them some of these, but couldn't get them interested. Okay, let's see, now we'll turn to the fire service. There we go.
All right, here we go.
Yep, so let's see. So I guess the real focus here is union firefighters, that line, 51,620. I guess that's where we'll focus our discussion on. And right now, this reflects adding 6 firefighters, correct? Right, Kevin? That's what's 51,620 reflects?
Correct. It's, do you want me to walk through, I worked with,
Yep.
and on a couple proposed, to show everyone, because it sounded like there were some questions, so can everyone see the fire service budget on the screen?
Yeah, I'm going to turn around.
Is it the detailed, I can't see what I'm looking at, is it the detailed page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so right now, the current model, right, just so everyone can see this, the current model, it's 4 firefighters on a shift, right? So I think the chief is there. So so you have 3 platoons or whatever they're called, groups. They work a 24 on, 48 off schedule. They work 24 on and work 48 off, and they all get Saturdays off unless they're called in at double time. This model, the ones in yellow, are either out on military leave, sick or injured, or FMLA. Based on this model, you have a 4-man crew. Minimum manning is 4. So all these shifts, these people are out on military leave.
Kevin, I'm sorry to
These
interrupt
guys-
you. I don't think what you're talking about is on the screen here. Or if it is,
Stand
I'm not
by.
able to see it.
Hold on. That's why I wanted to see if I can't really see what you guys are looking at.
Yeah,
So
this is
Oh,
it.
this is
Yeah,
it.
this is
All
it.
right.
This is
There we
it
go.
here. Is this the current
smart,
model?
everybody. This is the current model, correct? Okay.
All right, good.
I can see it.
Yeah,
So
you can see it? Oh, you got good eyes.
see it?
Okay, yeah, I got it
Today-
on my paper.
so you have 4 on a shift, right? So you have 3 firefighters plus a captain. The goal was 6 firemen, right? So you have 18. So right now, all these yellow shifts are filled with overtime. $1 million in overtime. This tracks exactly to where we are today, right? We're right about $1 million in overtime. So, because when any of these 4 calls out, you have to fill that shift at either overtime or, whatever, because that's minimum manning. Minimum manning is 4, we're meeting minimum manning. If you add 3 more, let's clean this up for a second. If you add 3 more and have 5 on a shift, shift A has 5, B has 5, C has 5, you can see the reduction in overtime, right? So if these guys call out, if these guys are out sick, you're not filling, your minimum manning, proposed would still be 4, right? So these guys could all call out, or firefighters, I don't want to say guys, these firefighters could all call out, and you still have your minimum manning of 4. That's the savings in overtime, right? Now, if you pushed it to 6, which, Dan's budget has 3 in July, and then the other 3 starting in January to make an accompaniment of, 18 firefighters, 6 on a shift, what does that do? Down here, 6 on a shift, so you have 5 firefighters plus the captain, so you have 6. Your overtime, you're able to drop it because we wouldn't budget for the accrued time off. So you would have 2 people that could leave or not show up for a shift or injured military leave before you need to call in to hit the minimum manning of 4. Does that make sense? That's why there's a reduction in the overtime line. So there's a balancing act between number of firefighters and overtime. because you always have to have a minimum manning of 4. I don't know if Bill Bundy's in the room, Chief Bundy, but he can kind of explain that better. This is just the finance perspective of this from the bean counter. But Bill, you know, did I do a pretty good job there?
Yes, and thank you, Kevin. Actually, Bill is on his way up, but before he starts, I want to actually start talking here because you're putting forward, in my opinion, an unsustainable plan, okay? And I was very clear about it on Monday night. We have other options. You're talking about overtime that is built in because a poor contract was negotiated, okay? And we're filling a Kelly day, and that's one of the biggest drivers. There are other options other than hiring 6 full-time paid firefighters. There are other options. We talked about part-timers. We talked about utilizing our volunteer fire department or our volunteers, and I see the people in the back. I hope that there is still that option for volunteers. I don't know if there are. If you want to come up and talk, you can. Are there volunteer firemen or firefighters? Because the chief had said that that was still an option. Maybe it's not an option. I don't know. All I know is that we are siphoning money, hemorrhaging money, actually, is the word that I used on Monday night. So there are other options other than hiring 6. And we had talked about taking 1 offline. You had said that you haven't been manning.
Well,
and we can
I'll go
talk
on the
about
record
those
to say
things.
that I'm totally against closing a firehouse, because that's essentially what you're suggesting. I think that puts the lives of the firefighters in danger, and it also provides a huge disservice to the folks in that particular district.
Well
That is an
taken,
unsafe
sir.
practice
Now,
of
for how
closing
long have you
firehouses.
not been manning Station 2?
We actually had it manned yesterday.
Okay,
When-
but on Monday, you said that you weren't manning
Right,
it.
so we
So I'm
we
just
try to
going on
man
what
it-
you said.
We try to man it as we can.
Right. And you
So
had said
that is-
something about,
In my opinion, that is not an option.
right. Okay, well,
To answer your question that you asked, volunteering is certainly an option.
good.
The problem with the volunteering, and you spoke about a model,
I did.
if I had the presentation, I could show you the trajectory that was presented downward prior to my getting here back in 2023 on how you were losing volunteers. And I believe when I took over in 2023, based on the data that was presented by the volunteers, you had on an average 12 volunteers throughout the town. Now I'm going to offer those 12 volunteers, people who were volunteering wearing a volunteer t-shirt. You had a volunteer fire chief who was employed by the town in the capacity of a part-time firefighter. You had another chief officer who was volunteering on payroll, collecting a part-time firefighter salary. You had another chief officer who, over the course of 2 years, made over $112,000 annually as a volunteer. You didn't have volunteers. You had people who were wearing volunteer t-shirts that were working.
Well, that's a good conversation. I'm
It
actually
certainly is.
really glad that you're saying those
Certainly
things
is.
because it's actually news.
It's
Thank
not
you.
news. This was brought
Well,
up
it's
several
definitely
years
news.
ago
It's
when I
news
first got
publicly
here.
because nobody's been talking about it. So I appreciate you.
Right.
Yeah, and we've talked about having very courageous conversations
Mm-hmm.
here that I am 100% all for, okay? I'm not against your model. I want the best fit for East Lyme. That's what I'm looking for.
As do
I'm
I.
looking for, good. I'm looking for people to be part of the conversation and not things done behind a closed door. And then, oh, by the way, now the taxpayers have to pay for it. And that's exactly how this is rolled out. And it's not okay. And I know, and I said this on Monday night, I can sit here and say nothing. I could sit here, be pretty, and be like, okay, let's just send it to the Board of Finance and see what they're gonna do. Has anybody been tuning into their meetings to see what they might do? Okay, because I am. We're looking at a huge increase for people. And again, looking down the road, what could possibly be coming that could really put us even higher at a mill rate, and really nothing to offset it because we don't have a large tax base. So again, trying to navigate, just like everybody else, to do the right thing, not rob Peter to pay the Paul. I've already said a million times, I'm not favoring one department over the other. This guy just stood up and wanted 4. I want to give him everything that I can give him, and we're settling for 2, and now being asked to give you 6. So I think that that's unreasonable. I'm willing to meet you, but I'm also willing to have conversations that nobody else has the courage or the backbone to have, to be honest with you. They don't want to ask about part-timers. They don't want to talk about rotating schedules. They don't want to talk about possibly having different volunteers. And no, I would not be on par and or supportive of a volunteer making that kind of money. So I'm appreciative that you dropped that. But I do want a good fit here. And the only thing that I keep seeing is ripping the Band-Aid off at community members' expenses and at their pocketbooks, and this is just something that we have to do. So I just feel like there's other options.
So,
I yield.
can I ask a question? Part-timers, it's my understanding that there is only one part-timer at this current time?
That's correct.
That's correct, okay. And volunteers, do you have any volunteers at this time?
I haven't had a volunteer respond to a call since we met last year prior to the budget.
Okay. And regarding the contract, I'm assuming this is being renegotiated now. It was negotiated a few years ago. So both parties compromise on things and give and take. So we are pretty much bound by what the contract says. You're bound by it. We're bound by it.
For
So-
now, yes.
Yeah,
For now.
so,
Yep.
and they're in contract negotiations now. So, you know, we kind of have to work within the framework that we've been given. The way I look at this, there was an article in the front page of the day, I don't know if anybody saw it, and Groton is in this exact same position, and they're trying to hire another, I guess, person for their 3. So they want to do 3 firemen, and they put it out to a survey for the town. I spoke to some people offline, some of the other firefighters the other night. I sat with Kevin Gervais for 2 hours the other day trying to understand this. It took me a while, you know, to really get into the meat of it and understand it. And having done that, what I would propose, I don't think that we can sustain 6 firefighters. I would love to do that, I really would, but the town can't sustain it. But what I would want to do is I would want to add 3 to the budget. I think that way then you have your 5th guy, and we also, yes, we're going to have to pay overtime. We have 2 out in the military, so who knows what's going to happen with them, right? We have 1 on comp, and, you know, that's kind of a crapshoot too. And you have 1 on FMLA, am I
That's
correct?
correct.
Okay, so that's 12 weeks of FMLA. So hopefully they come back. So I think if we give you 3, and this is what I'm trying to recommend to my board here now, that gives you another person. When I was outside talking to the firefighters, you know, one of them said to me, you know, I've worked 96 hours this week. He goes, I want to see my family. I don't want to work anymore. And, you know, that rings true with me. And also, I think that people, you know, it's critical. I think, you know, firemen do a critical job. I also asked one of them, and they said that they don't go to the correction facility, but that's neither here nor there. So I would recommend 3. I think it's reasonable, and I think it helps you, and I think hopefully the budget can sustain it. But I think it's a critical service for the town. So that's where I'm landing on this. And I've really been talking and thinking about this and trying to do my due diligence on it. So that's where I am.
Yeah.
So now, you're going to recommend 3 full-time, or are we considering part-time at all?
Well,
If I may.
Yes.
I think,
Yeah.
I don't believe one has anything to do with the other, because we are constantly recruiting part-timers. They do not fall within the, certainly don't fall within the collective bargaining. So we are still entertaining and would be looking for part-timers regardless of either number that you're agreed upon.
Okay. So what I shared on Monday, right? So we're all trying to get a good grip on it. So whether or not we're talking to career fire guys here in town that we can get a caliber on it, to get a good pulse. I'm going out of town asking other people that are in different fire departments, how do you manage your schedules? What are the key factors? Rotation, 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 and plugging in their part-timers where to fill. That's what I keep getting, and it keeps resonating, okay? We talked about on Monday. You had talked about part-timers, well, we have to train them. So in my mind, part-timer versus full-timer, you're going to part-time rate. It is going to be cost-effective. You're still going to get help. You're still going to offset, other people having to work over and over and over, right? So that's going to be helpful. You're getting trained in a career, right, which is great for someone that's coming in. Then you write it within a contract that then they would be working for us for a certain amount of time, right? Yes or no?
I don't know that that's the case.
They don't have a
And this
contract.
goes, and I think this goes back to the conversation that you and I had on Monday.
Yep.
About hiring somebody part-time for a set period of time,
Yep.
which I'm not opposed to do that.
Mhm.
I think the way I explained myself was that I'm looking at how do we enforce that? Because
Right.
there's no, and again, we have no, and I use the term leverage, we don't have any leverage. I'll hire you as a part-timer,
Yes.
for example, and we'll go through this whole process of getting you so that you're in a position to work that shift.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm scheduling you for that shift. I'm not working though on Saturday because I have plans with my family.
They can't do that.
Well,
If someone-
actually, I
so if
disagree
someone
with you.
is
I believe that
hired-
they can because we have no leverage. The leverage to that would be we would terminate them.
Okay, so you're saying that if somebody is hired, so and I'm trying to grasp it in your world versus mine. So in my world, if somebody is hired for a certain shift, say it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's what you're working. So plan accordingly. Or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that's just what you do. So
And what
they
happens
would
when
be
they don't
working.
show?
Whatever
they
you
don't work.
would do. I
You
don't
would
know.
fire them.
You would fire them.
You would terminate them
Okay.
because they're not meeting their obligation.
Okay.
And
And
I
you're
think-
just saying that that's what's going to happen.
That's what happens in that world, and
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. And again, it comes back to, it's not like we can leave it open,
Right, and it's not gonna happen if it's a full-timer.
because we have leverage, because
Because you have
they're
more
bound by a
leverage.
contract.
There's a
They have-
contract
There's a
that's
collective
involved.
bargaining, that's their shift.
There's another aspect too that I think would help if, and we had this discussion today in our negotiations. And, we talk about volunteers, and I think, Candace, you may have somewhat of a misconception about how a volunteer could help us. So I'd like, Bill, maybe if you could explain, can a volunteer take over a shift that a career firefighter has?
I think that would be great, because you know what, I mean, I know a lot of career firefighters now that actually came up in the ranks as volunteers,
Correct.
But-
right? I think I'm
but
looking
to
at a
answer
couple
the
in the
question-
back,
But I
so,
think
I'm
the
trying to answer-
misconception might
Yep.
be that, per the contract, we start every shift on that 24/48 schedule
Yep.
with 4 paid firefighters. If one were to call out, be injured or whatnot, we cannot, per their collective bargaining agreement, put a volunteer in that role.
understood.
That's not to suggest, and I'm all for the volunteer, that's not to suggest having them supplementing those 4. But we can't plug a volunteer into.
To take it away from another union.
Because we're taking.
Right.
because
I get
we're
it.
taking
Yeah,
away
I'm in a
at
union
that
world too.
point.
Okay.
And that's,
Well, I'm not following that. So what do you mean when you say supplement? I mean, if you're
like
supplementing,
we
aren't they
have
gonna?
we have 4 firefighters working on any given day. And if
Okay.
we had a supplement of volunteers that wants to come in and basically hang out waiting for calls,
Yeah.
we're not gonna shoo them away.
Okay,
But the problem is we don't have that. And if we did have, let's say we had 4 volunteer firefighters that wanted to come in on any given day, and we had a paid union firefighter that called out sick, I still have to bring in another paid
Right.
union firefighter to fill that 4th paid position per their collective bargaining agreement.
So the volunteers
understood.
don't solve the
It
problem
doesn't solve the
of
problem of the
overtime.
paid, of
Right.
the overtime and all of that.
Yeah.
That's not to suggest that we don't want them there responding to calls with us. And I
Yeah.
think maybe that's where some of the disconnect or maybe some of the confusion is. We're
Yeah.
not looking to make this all our little work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you're looking for the solution to solve the overtime and the staffing, that's not through the volunteer.
Oh, no,
And-
I don't
and-
think that that's going to be
Okay.
a solution. I
Right.
think that it could be helpful.
I agree.
Just a
It's
helpful
absolutely-
resource. So we can have that for clarity if
Right.
there's other people thinking that, because it's not, okay? So listen to
Right.
me in the back, that's not it. I'm trying to look outside of the box
Mm-hmm.
for a solution that isn't going to cost us millions and millions of dollars. That's it,
I
okay? And I
understand that
am
entirely.
conservative, I'm not apologetic, I am very conservative with my own budget. I'm not preaching here and doing something different, okay? I would rather start small versus 6, okay? And then I go back to the comment that everybody's making about ripping a Band-Aid off. I'm not ripping anybody's Band-Aid off. I'm literally trying to go around, trying to plug up holes so that people can afford to live. And that's how bad it is for some people. It really is. So this type of increase does need to be justifiable. I can't justify 6. I literally cannot. I can't. It's really difficult. And okay, even the 3, I'm thinking start smaller than that and then increase if need. Go through that. We still have negotiations. You know, I have worked on municipal negotiations for a very long time. I have also worked on state negotiations for a very long time. Municipal, you walk in that room, I want employees to have a contract that is good for them, that is palpable, that they have good quality of life, they have a good contract, no matter what the position, no matter what department, okay? And then you also have to have a contract that is good for your municipality. And this contract with that schedule is killing us. That's the truth. Okay, you're in negotiations, we can have conversations about it. Then you have another resource on volunteer fire department people to help. We are a small community. We are relationship based. I'm literally blue in the face right now reiterating what I said on Monday night. We are a town that is relationship based. We have volunteers coming all over the place. We're literally run on it. So we have a problem apparently with volunteer firemen nationally as well. We have other towns that are having that issue too. I'd like to ensure that we have a welcoming environment for volunteers. I talked about ego the other night, okay? We're here about being honest. There's a lot of ego involved, all right? If we could get past it, maybe we would be able to utilize a resource, because I do believe there are volunteers here in town that really do love their town and want to help, okay? I'm just trying to find the best fit, a little here, a little there.
Could maybe someone entertain put up forward a motion? I mean, to at least kind
No,
of
not yet.
move
No,
the
we're
discussion?
still
No, I
discussing
don't think
this.
that that's
Brainstorming?
No,
would be fair.
No, can I ask a question though? You were saying that volunteer firefighters have become career firefighters. Do you still have that, or is that something that's kind of in the past? And I'm wondering also if this was impacted by COVID, like if that was like an impetus where there was like that tipping point where, you know, you stopped kind of getting volunteers or something. And I don't know if I'm asking too many questions or.
I'm trying to.
Do you know what I mean?
separate-
I'm
it seems
trying
like
to-
there's a couple of questions that are.
Yeah, I'm trying to
all
kind of
intertwined.
understand,
The-
like,
there have
what
been-
happened, maybe in the big picture, and then it sounds like now you don't really have volunteers.
Well, I think that to that point, I think it's difficult to answer whether we have volunteers that are willing to follow that career path because, well, I can say this, as far as the information that I'm receiving, one volunteer fire department has not met since last year, and another volunteer fire department, and Mr. Diebel can attest to this, went radio silent. So I don't know what's going on within the volunteer rank and file to see who's there in that feeder capacity. Now, if there were, by all means, that is certainly an option, that we foster that, we bring that, and then as we move forward and growing the ranks, so to speak, then they would have that ability to do that. I know we recently, in our last several hires, there were, the candidates were from within. We hired firefighters who were part of this, the community, as you say.
Okay.
The impact of COVID, I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. And again, that predates me.
That's right, okay.
So it's hard for me to
Yeah,
really
to
give you,
answer that, yeah.
give you, with the.
Yeah, okay.
Bill, there's another question that it might be helpful. You're talking about volunteers and talking about full-time firefighters.
Versus part-time. I'm
Well-
talking about part-time too.
Well, I want to explain the relationship between full or paid firefighters and volunteers.
Okay.
So there's a Department of Labor problem with volunteers working as paid firefighters. Am I correct on that?
As far as I know, there's a DOL ruling that you cannot volunteer for your employer. So if you're volunteering, you cannot necessarily be a part-timer or a full-timer.
And that was a problem we faced a couple of years ago when we were,
And other municipalities actually were
Yeah.
fined by the Department of Labor.
so you can't, one person has to elect either to be an employee of the town as a
Right.
firefighter
And in
or a
some cases
volunteer.
where we had that, and you talk about the egos and you talk about the attitudes and whatnot, that's what was occurring when I came in back in 2023. And as the chief who was looking at what's the legal and the liability to the town,
Okay.
that was explored and it was determined that you needed to make a decision of whether or not you wanted to volunteer or you wanted to be a part-time employee.
Okay.
And decisions were made, and they were individual decisions, and some decided that they just wanted to volunteer, others decided that they wanted to work. But then you factored in, when you're a part-timer, you're still held to the same standards. And I purposefully chose my words on Monday, as opposed to calling them professional versus volunteer. They're all professional because we're all held to the same professional, quote-unquote, standards, whether you're a volunteer or a paid firefighter.
I see.
And in some capacity, there were a number of these part-timers and volunteers who were not meeting the standards that were established by OSHA.
Okay.
And here, the new chief, who's the bad guy from the outside, comes in and says, if you want to do one or the other, you have to follow these rules. And it became that this was Bill Bundy's rules. Well, they're not Bill Bundy's rules. These are the rules that are established by others. I literally today signed 3 requests to have physicals performed for people who hopefully are looking to join the volunteer ranks.
Okay.
So we're not turning, in spite of what may be presented on social media or any of these other places, we are not closing the door to the volunteers. The problem, and I say the problem because it is a problem, you have to decide whether or not you want to be a part of the problem or be a part of the solution. And
Thank
I'm
you
all
for quoting me from Monday night.
I'm sorry?
I said thank you for quoting me
Is
from
that a
Monday
quote?
night.
Oh, you're
As
welcome. I didn't realize I did
Because
that.
that is, and
that's
it's
exactly-
perfect,
that's
right?
exactly
Because
what it
that's
is.
exactly what it is. I got it.
had a
Okay.
conversation today with a gentleman in town who asked me point blankly, are you looking, no, I want to foster this relationship, but it's got to be, are you willing to be a part of the problem, or are you going to be an obstructionist? See, I changed it slightly to make it mine.
Funny.
So-
I got it. Okay. Well,
And
that's a
I'm all
good thing.
for that.
Okay. And this is exactly what we need. So sometimes people get uncomfortable when conversations like this are happening. I do not.
I'm not
This is
either.
what we need. Okay. And
Right.
this is the clarity and the true transparency. I always say true transparency because sometimes people say, I want to be transparent. And then when you're transparent, they don't know what to do with you. They're like, whoa, hold on a second. All right. I didn't expect you to be that transparent.
Right.
I want people to hear really why we moved in this way, all right? And I
Yeah.
talked about that on Monday night, right? So I can go back, I can fully support and acknowledge publicly that we needed an infrastructure change with the fire services here, okay? I believe how it was done, how there was very little public conversation, possibly to show why, what the issues were, right? Probably would have been helpful then. But now we're in a model that is, I am standing on my wording here, unsustainable with the money. And I think that it's fair to be honest. It's not just our town that's griping with this. You got Norwich, you got Groton, and when you pull it up, you pull it up. What are the pros and cons of going to this model? The first thing is gonna be cost, right? So I'm just trying to do it cost effectively. That's all. That's all
So,
I'm doing.
in the spirit of
and not
moving
trying to take away
forward-
from services.
And I do appreciate that, and the proposal for this year, and maybe I didn't convey that accurately or effectively on Monday. When I first came here several years ago, I was asked about a plan. What's the plan moving forward, as you say? What's our tomorrow and the next year look like? And 18 firemen 3 years ago, when I first came here, was always the target, because it was 3 stations, 2 firefighters each. And we incrementally were trying to get there. And I know I met ad nauseum with Kevin, developing how's it gonna cost, so and I say the unfortunate part for this year, the 6 is because military deployments and all the things that are associated with dropping our numbers. Because it truly is, Chief Glenn mentioned before, it's a shell game. I'm trying to fill those holes, those 16, 18 holes with 8. I'm half-staff. And we can have these courageous conversations about the volunteers and all the other options, but that's not helping us at this here and moment.
Right, and you haven't been
and-
manning, so I just want that, again.
sorry?
You have not been manning Station 2.
No, that's not
No.
true. We have
that's
been,
what I
man-
thought you
we
said
have
on
been
Monday night.
manning, not fully,
When we
With the
can.
part-time.
with part-timers. No, whenever it's manned by a part-timer,
And you only have one.
and we only have one
Okay,
currently.
okay.
Maybe in the spirit of compromise and moving this forward, and also we have to be done with this not this conversation, but we have to be done with this meeting in 25 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is accurate, and then we were going to pick up after our
Okay.
regular meeting. So
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
looking to rush, I just want to be really
Yeah,
clear.
no,
I
I
am
mean,
not
yeah.
looking to rush this situation just because somebody might be getting tired. I'm just putting it out there, okay? I want a good result for your budget. I do, and for your people.
I believe maybe I have a compromise. Perhaps with the staggered approach that the board seemed to favor for Chief Glenn and the police department, we could approach this with a staggered rollout of 3 or 4 firefighters over the course of the budget year, so that it slows down the rate of expenditure and gives us more time to absorb it.
I guess my
3 is a
only.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Multiples of 3 are kind of the magic number when you look at the chart.
Because of their state.
Yeah, so, I think if we want to make a change and make a motion, I think the options are 0, 3, or 6.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that 3 achieves savings in the overtime line that we saw, that Kevin put up, and allows us to get at least halfway to getting 18, because having 18 really allows us to achieve other efficiencies down the road. So, if there was a motion to suggest hiring 3 firefighters, I would certainly support that.
Before you ask for that motion, also a term got thrown around, split shift, and I don't think it was ever defined, and I don't understand how it would be implemented in this
Right,
context.
so I had thrown out is that an option? I think that's what it
sorry.
was. So he's referring
Split
to when I had referred to split shifts. And I think I was talking about just possibilities with your schedules. So if you're looking at your schedules and you're plugging in part-timers, and that's hypothetically thinking, instead of having 1 part-timer, you have 2 more part-timers, and you're utilizing them around where you have high-volume calls and that types of things, or your busiest days, that type of thing. A split shift was something that I had put out. In my world, there is a thing as a split shift. Not sure if it's part of your world, so that's where that had come from. So if that's an
I
option.
think under the current, and again, you mentioned we're bound by the collective bargaining agreement, and the contract is pretty specific in terms of what the work weekend schedule is. So with that, and going along the premise of hiring 3 additional. I would, by the agreement, have to put them on a 24/48 schedule on a on a Sunday through Saturday schedule, with
Because-
Saturday being their Kelly
Kelly
day.
day.
Yep.
Under the current model, under the current situation. The contract also says that they can't, quote, work alone. So I'm not putting them in an outlying station by themselves. Now,
Correct.
having said that, to your point, I can supplement with a part-timer, putting them for the duration of the part-time employment, their hours, so to speak. Let's say they were working the high-volume hours, say it's noon to 8. I can put them at Station 2, and I can have that that fifth person work along there with them. And then when they go, I would have to reassign that particular firefighter to one of the other stations so that they're not working alone in accordance with their agreement. So
Okay.
whether or not I don't know that I would call it the ability to utilize a split shift, but I do have the ability, provided I stay within the framework of the contract, I have a little bit of leeway in moving some of them around, utilizing the part-timers as well.
I got it. Okay. And thank you for that. So 2 things. So you just said 0, 3, or 6. I'm leaning more towards like 2.5 to bring a part-timer in. And I'm just talking. I'm not making any motions. I'm just talking, okay? We had talked about the schedule, and correct me if I'm wrong if I say the wrong thing. So 24 and 48 is what we're doing right now, right? And I know that Jason had brought it up too. I know that I have brought it up, and it wasn't really collectively where the firefighters wanted to be. Apparently a 24 and a 72 is the most attractive schedule. Yes or no, maybe?
The 24/72
Requires.
long-term is more beneficial for the municipality.
Okay.
It gives you the best coverage. It does reduce your overtime liability. However, it's the investment to get there. It's the staffing to get there.
You need the
Okay.
18.
We certainly, we're having this dialogue over
Sure.
18, that you're now adding another 6
Yeah,
to
and
that.
I'm not
And then
saying,
we're not there at that.
I'm not saying that you're never going to be at the 18.
Right,
I'm just
no, I get
saying right
that. But
now.
in terms of that schedule, the 24/72 is a whole different framework in terms
To
of
support it.
personnel,
To support it.
to support it,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
But you do save on the overtime.
It's more beneficial in the long term for the
That makes sense, on
municipality.
the 24/72?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I think we're gonna have some ideas here. I think 3 really is the magic number rather than 2.5, because you have 3 shifts of 4. So with 2.5, you don't get that economy that you do with having 3. So you have 1 extra person on each shift. So I think that's really, if we're gonna make a move, I think 3 is really how we should try to go.
Okay, so we do not have to make a decision tonight. Accurate? Correct? We do not.
No.
We're actually still missing a person. Cindy hasn't been here, so I think that it would be fair, right? I want more discussion on this. I really do. And I fully understand that somebody could throw a motion out here and just kind of push it through. And I'm asking you to be respectful and not do that. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I'd like a little bit more before we go forward.
So,
I'm sorry if you felt that I was being disrespectful.
No.
Honestly, in Robert's rules, you're supposed to have a motion, have it seconded, and then have the discussion.
Not at all.
So, okay.
I'd like to ask about the situation with the volunteers. What types of things could the volunteers not do?
It's a pretty open question. I think the basic answer to that, it depends, and it depends on their level of certification. That's the main thing. A volunteer, let's say, and forgive me if I use Mr. Dietl as an example.
Go ahead.
He offered to be a volunteer. So
Yes,
he
he
goes
did.
to the volunteer company, they knight him as a volunteer. he wouldn't, at that point, he's not eligible to drive any of the apparatus because I don't know if you have the proper endorsement to do so. He's certainly not going to be able to engage in any fire suppression activity. Do you have firefighter 1, firefighter 2? There's a level of certification that you now need to maintain in order to do that. You want to help on the EMS side of it? Do you have any medical training, EMT, EMR, things of that nature? So it depends on their level of certification. And then I mentioned the OSHA standards of annually. There's a certain required trainings that you have to do refreshers on annually. Hazmat, HIPAA, things of that nature that you have to attend so many live burns and whatnot, physicals. So again, it depends. Somebody who has all of that, then they show up, they're in the back seat, they're in the driver's seat, they're doing firefighter activities. There's no restriction at that point, but it's just a matter of getting to that. And that's where, again, Chief Glenn talked about, a year to 18 months of getting somebody from that walking in the door to being on their own. Well, there's still it may not be 18 months, but there's still a period of time that new, and I'll use the term recruit, would need to get themselves in the capacity that they're able to function.
So the idea really of using volunteers as a supplement really comes down to an emergency situation or somebody that perhaps wants the experience to become certified for a full-time firefighter.
No, well, yes, but there are also functions where they can operate in a support capacity. Somebody who's going to help pull hose off, or run equipment. There's a lot of support function, but those are less glamorous.
But all of those require a certified person to be present.
Oh, absolutely.
that.
Because we're not going to have people who that can't do the job on the scene trying to do the job.
So what can we do to make it more, I don't want to say attractive, amenable to attract more volunteers who hopefully might become certified, because we know that there is an existing shortage region-wide. So what are some things that we might implement to either get some of our former volunteers back into the fold, or bring in new folks?
Well, I think as I mentioned on Monday, if we could do that, if we could come up with that solution, I'd like to bottle that, and I think we would all become extremely wealthy, because nobody seems to be able to figure that out. And that's not just here, that's across the districts, that's across the state, and across the country.
It's a big problem.
It truly is. What can we do? And we actually had discussions today, some of us, of how do we trying to think outside of the box. I mentioned the EMS program that the high school is doing, and we're just going to look locally for a moment. There's the EMT program at the high school that Mary Toronto runs. Now, we've talked about and I've had dialogue with her about extending that to the seniors to make it more in tune with the fire side of it. We've been dabbling with the police do a citizens police academy. We've had discussions about trying to do a citizens fire academy, just to try to generate some interest.
Generate the interest in it.
We actually had a dialogue this afternoon
Today.
with some of the paid staff of creating a junior fire cadet program in conjunction with the high school. So, the town I'm from, we called it the X block. There was always the seniors, they had an extra block at the end of the day, kind of like making it an after-school club. Something to try to generate that interest that you're referring to. So those are just some of the ideas that we're trying to brainstorm to see, how do we make this thing work? But in a bigger sense, in a global sense, I don't have that answer. I wish I did. And again, because I think if we would share it, and it would help not just us, but it helped the fire service in general.
Yeah, I don't think that it's the solution, but I do think it's a good resource for sure. And maybe partnering up with Dave Fasulo over
Yeah,
at
that's,
Eastline
that's,
Moves.
we, I had actually had conversations with him a while back
Yeah,
about
and
that.
it hasn't been that long. I mean, I remember seeing, I mean, my kids are 19 and 20, so we've had young cadets over at the Flanders side. I remember them being there and participating. So, you know, I think that there is an interest for that, and that would be great, right? It's never going to look like I think it used to, right? And generationally, you're never going to do that. You have to keep moving forward, but it is a resource. That's all I'm trying to say. It's a resource, all right?
Yeah, it's worth encouraging, I mean, young people to, it's a way to get interested in fire service as a career. And if we can start at the high school level and help some of these, you know, younger people to have a pathway. And we had that discussion today. We were actually talking about how could that work. So I think that's a direction we're trying to move in.
But to summarize this conversation about how we can affect change in this
Yeah.
moment here, it seems like the conversation is 0, 3, or 6. And it sounds like we need more time to think on this and perhaps talk to Kevin or, you know, folks in other towns and kind of generate, well, is that really the only answer, or is there something else? And that's kind of where we're at, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at, I mean, I could say that I'm not a 0, but I'm more like a 2.5. I really do feel like the part-timers could be beneficial to be plugging into your schedules. I do. And we can talk more about it. I am, you know, I'm
I would love
definitely-
nothing more than
Yeah.
to sit down with you offline and try to hash, because I think what Dan's trying to say is 0, 3, and 6. 2.5 doesn't work schedule-wise under the current agreement, and that's not to suggest that we eliminate part-timers. And again, I don't think one does not go with the other.
I think Kevin's
That's a-
trying to
that's-
chime in here too.
That's a complete separate conversation.
Okay, well, I'm open to the conversation for sure, okay? And you said he's trying to get in to talk.
Yeah, I see him switch on and hear his mic.
Well, sorry. I was just going to show, so if we do 2.5, so these would be the career firefighters on platoon A and B. Bill, is it platoon? Am I saying it right?
It's platoon, yeah.
Okay. So platoon A and B would have the full 5 firemen. Platoon C would have the 4, and then I'm assuming that that 0.5 we're talking about would be filled in here. So either this would be, you know, part-timer shifts, but if we're doing minimum manning of 4, if those don't get filled, you know, the question is, does that get overtime filled to keep a crew of 5, or do we put it minimum manning at 4, you know, leave it at 4? So it'd be something like that, maybe, you know,
I just feel like
like something like that.
it can be helpful, and then what's the worst thing that's gonna happen?
Hang on, can I
Wait,
ask a
wait,
question
wait.
while
Hang on
Kevin has
one
got this
second.
up?
Yeah.
Kevin, you, in the budget, it says that their overtime is at 7:05. Hang on, let me switch glasses.
$8.99.
8.99.
705, yep.
Okay, so up here, it's 724, 72. So does that mean the overtime projection in this budget, it doesn't anticipate 2.5 or whatever, but that's kind of the
So,
level of
Jason,
funding we're thinking in
There's
overtime?
two separate, there's two separate, like, calculations I did. Projected overtime, what I did was, I did storm event coverage and then Saturdays to get the 705. So it was just a rough calculation to get the 705. And then I actually modeled out every schedule for the 3, you know, potentials. And that's where it comes slightly different
Got
to
it.
720 versus the 705.
Okay, thank you.
Just a little bit of a rounding error when you're, you know, it's only a couple hours a week and really push that up.
Well, maybe the question then is, based upon what Kevin just said, if you did 2.5, would you man one with 4 and one with then 5? Or what would you do? How,
What's an
You say 2.5. Are you saying 2 full-timers and then more part-timers?
Yeah,
Are you
so-
saying 2 full-timers and then a full-timer starting later in the year? Like, just, if you can clarify, I can, you know, look at the numbers too.
Yeah,
I
no,
think it goes back to, and again, I just do want to interject, the part-timers, we can hire as many. We're not
Yeah, but
limited in
you-
terms, and we can plug them in anywhere.
Yeah.
So the But
of
it's gonna
getting
come
them.
back, it's gonna come back to, first of all,
No leverage.
you know, the supply and demand of getting part-timers
Are they
and then
there?
having the ability to plug them in. And
Yeah.
that- And I don't think, on the surface, it addresses that half.
Understood.
Okay. Okay.
So,
I'd like, oh,
you go ahead.
okay. So how much are we actually saving by going to 2.5 as opposed to 3? What's the savings?
That's Kevin.
Yeah.
So, Candace, you suggested the 2.5. Can you break down what the proposal was, just so I can kind of calculate it?
So you said at 0, we would spend $1 million on overtime, and then if we had just 3, it would be 700,000 on overtime, and if we hired a full 6, it would be 600,000 on overtime. So I'm guessing if we went at 2.5, that would be somewhere maybe around $800,000 on overtime that we would spend.
But what's the half, I guess, maybe is what
So we
Kevin's
would say-
asking.
There's the half
right?
star.
Are you using,
Do-
yeah, is that half-time person, Candace, you're looking for, or you proposed? Was that just a fireman starting later in the year, so it's just a budget equivalent of half-time?
That was my-
Or was that
that was my
part-time?
That's the
proposal.
question. That's your
Okay.
pro-
So
What are you thinking?
I was thinking the 2 and one part-timer, okay?
Gotcha.
That's what I was
Gotcha.
thinking, yes.
Yes.
You can give the cost analysis for both. I think that that's a good idea to have both. Can you do that?
Yeah, but the
The part-time,
problem with the part-time, if I'm understanding this properly,
you can't,
oh, okay,
we have to
Yeah.
stop in a minute.
all right.
Well, why don't we just,
We'll
let's,
just take it back up when we're
Yeah.
done with our regular meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe Kevin can even, sorry
Do
to
the
say this, Kevin,
numbers.
maybe you could work on those numbers while we're doing our town meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
all right,
That's
so,
good.
And just to summarize the question, my idea was to do a phased in, something similar to what we did for Chief Glenn.
Yep.
To reach the compromise. Candace has a second one, which is
Yeah, we'll
2
just do both.
full-time and a part-time, or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Me, second.
All right, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.